Hello and welcome in, friends. How's everyone doing today? I hope you are well. My name is Sarah, and this is Cage and Lantern, where I channel messages from Spirit that might be of interest to you today. If the title drew you in, that's great. There's very likely a message here for you. And if not, no worries, just leave it behind and maybe we'll catch you next time. So today's energy is speaking to me of accepting what is. This eclipse that we just experienced here on August the 12th of 2026, that was quite pivotal. Eclipses shake things up, and you might have experienced something of a tower moment or something that just really affected you the last few days. And if you haven't, well, hang on, because it's probably coming for you, okay? And it's not meant to scare you. It's meant to sort of wake us up from the patterns that keep us stuck. And so some of you might be wondering, what kind of truth have I been telling myself that isn't really the truth, because it is only serving to keep me safe, but it's not actually the truth. I think of maybe that the greatest truth lies within ourselves, right? It's like a divine voice that whispers from inside. So we listen to it very closely, and then we can release control. And I've been getting a lot of messages lately about, perfectionism and controlling things because we want things to turn out a certain way. And lots of times when we do that, we end up driving the thing away from us even more when we actually wish it would come closer to us. So it's like we're repelling that energy, right? And if we're in harmony with ourselves, then we'll be able to find the answers that we seek. And however, you get that kind of clarification. If you're here, probably you're very close. You have a close connection with Spirit, the universe, God, Goddess. And so you recognize that letting the truth set you free is the answer. You might want to speak the truth that you've been hiding, your needs, your fears, your regrets. When you can express those things, that's where the actual freedom lies, right? That's where it begins. And we might need to face consequences. When we say or do something, our actions, they ripple beyond us, like a stone thrown into a pond, right? You can see the ripple effect. And when you stand in that truth and you accept that what follows is part of guiding your growth. And that can be really uncomfortable, right? It's not easy to sit in that and just like accept. But some of us have repeated patterns so often that we're at that rock bottom point, or we just understand that the lie that we've been telling ourselves that seemed plausible is not working out for us. So there needs to be some kind of change, right? I'm seeing here someone who might have had some family disputes as of late, perhaps over money, debts. There might be some instability, or maybe someone is living a lifestyle that's kind of unconventional. Perhaps they're more of a free spirit. They have big dreams of, travel. They don't want to live the regular life, the 9-to-5 life, and have the house and the cars and the 2.5 kids or whatever that is. They're interested in the travel and trying new things and meeting new people and living very minimal, maybe backpacking or van life, something like that. I'm getting that very strongly in this reading. Someone who wants to break some traditions. They might be accused of being imbalanced or messy, chaotic, and maybe or maybe that's the life that you wish you could live. And maybe that is your truth, that you've been living this lie, that you've been trying to fit in this box that you don't fit in anymore. And maybe that truth is finally coming out, like something happened and you were telling yourself that, oh, it's all fine. And then you realize, no, you maybe fooled yourself into believing something all over again. There's like a cycle here. And Spirit is asking us to accept what it is kind of thing. Let's not force it to be something it's not, because it's definitely feeling like you're juggling and you are unable to stabilize. And there's a lot of cycles of change and transformation here, and it's coming really quickly. With that eclipse energy, it's coming like faster than we know, and it's not slowing down. So brace for impact. We're still talking about this eclipse energy because this eclipse energy continues for several days, even like a week or maybe even months later. I think I've even heard like 6 months later. I don't know how accurate that is, but that kind of just gives us the seriousness of this energy that we experience. The astrology really does affect us as people. Some things that the eclipse also does for us, maybe if you want to look back on the last 15 years or so, this is the cycle that's starting to close out now. Where were you in 2011? What was going on for you at that point? I know I had a major life shift, huge, massive upheaval happened to me where I found out the truth about my religious beliefs, and I had been a Jehovah's Witness for 35 years. And then I discovered that there was rampant abuse of minors. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to get strike on my channel, but I found out about that and did a little research and found out that my whole life was a lie. And that was in 2011. And then in 2012, I wrote a letter of disassociation because I no longer wanted to be associated with the religion. And I was subsequently shunned after that, and still am being actively shunned by my entire community and most of my family, including my parents and one of my sisters. And so that was the beginning of that. And a cycle of out of control, destructive behavior for myself that I look back upon now and think it's a miracle I survived, because that was a lot for one person to go through. And not only that, but there were many, many other personal things that happened around that time that, looking back now, I realize it happened for me to shake that foundation, to kind of send me a message that I needed to make a lot of changes and really examine what was happening in my life. Because this thing, this upheaval of your entire identity, and I'm not saying it's that, massive of a deal perhaps for you, viewer, but maybe it is. And sometimes it feels like you've just lived through, like, and imagine I'm like seeing the imagery of like a tornado, like uprooting an entire massive tree, roots and all. And it's just, in a field somewhere. It's that kind of thing. Like you just kind of sit back and think, what just happened? And it can never go back to how it was. And that's what this eclipse has just done. It's in a couple of weeks, I believe that there's another massive, let's see, I wrote it down if I can find it. Oh, there's going to be a Pisces lunar eclipse in at the end of August, and that will be closing this 15-year cycle out for us. So, and then today, Mars moves into Cancer. And so that's like mama bear energy. It's like taking action, and the things that you cherish and have really honed, you might be very protective over those things. And so right now is a great time to like push something out into the world that is purely from you. Yeah, so initiating something new, especially a creative endeavor, whatever that looks like. You know, maybe you're trying to start a YouTube channel, or maybe you wish to be more active on social media, perhaps like branding or something like that. Right now is a really great time for that. Okay, so and remember to stay grounded and like process what's troubling you. Great way to do that. Sit down with a blank piece of paper. They say that the actual motion of writing by hand is very therapeutic for the brain, and it helps process better than maybe typing. But, you know, do what works for you. If you're just like, no, typing is better, do typing. Whatever helps you, do that thing. That's going to help you progress. And by being kind to yourself right now, because this eclipse, this is really dredging up a lot for most of us. Like, whether we want to or not, we are going to be forced to sit and look at what we are ignoring. And it's, yeah, it can be a terrifying prospect if we look at it that way. I don't mean to be like a Pollyanna or anything, but there is something to be said about sitting in discomfort and understanding why something makes us so anxious. And if we can pinpoint where that might have come from and maybe write that down and all the feelings that flood from that, anything that comes to mind, and maybe nothing does. And for people that nothing does come to mind, maybe this is not an exercise that you'll be comfortable with, but I implore you to give it a try. You can make a lot of headway by just sitting down with a journal. Okay. Also, right now is a great time to be like cognizant of other people's emotions. If you are in a place where you're like, you know what, Sarah, I'm doing pretty good. I've done a lot of work, and I really think that the eclipse is bringing in more like aha moments for me and things that are super cool and I'm really excited to get into. Great. So right now you might be in the place where you can help other people who are going through the stuff that I was just kind of talking about, right? Because maybe you are spiritually in a place where you are stronger or more, just a little bit more aware. And if you are, that's not to elevate anybody above anybody else. But if you are able to help, this is a great time to help people, however that might look, right? Oh, don't burn yourself out right now. Make sure we're taking lots of rest. I did keep getting messages for more water, more fruits and vegetables. Because right now, you know, a lot of us are just very, we're processing, and spiritual work is thirsty work. I never realized how thirsty for water I was until I started doing channeling. I'm very thirsty. And so make sure you're drinking lots of water, because we can get really sick if we don't, right? All right, so a new chapter was open for us with this eclipse that just happened on August the 12th. And right now we're being asked to get a move on. You may be very overwhelmed right now. Just take care not to multitask too much. I know we are praised for being multitaskers. In fact, like if you ever apply for a job, lots of times it'll say must be able to multitask, or multitasking is necessary for this position. And so we kind of are forced to multitask. It's not always a good thing for us, for our brains. Some of us are, we get very overwhelmed if we have too much. And I think of that perfectionism. I used to work at a company where I had to hand paint items, and they had to be a certain font. And so we had to learn that font. And then they were quality checked. And some of them were very complicated. They were all personalized. So we would have to do various different company names, or like wedding dates, things like that. And they all had to be done to perfection, only not to perfection, because you had to do so many and you had to keep up. So I am a Virgo rising. And so that means that perfection is basically my middle name. And I really struggled with that position. It was even told that if I didn't stop being so perfect, that I would probably not be able to stay at the position, because they needed it to be done quickly. And of course, they gave you lots of time to like train and stuff. And after some time, I did get better. And I'll tell you that that was like such a blessing for me, because I took that opportunity as a way to break out of my perfectionism kind of ways. Almost to the point where I went completely the other direction for a long time, and just sort of said, oh, well, and that was very freeing and kind of wild. And I am very all or nothing. So I've always struggled with like balance and things. That's one thing that as you uncover things that have brought you to this place where you are right now, and if you're doing the self-work, you will start uncovering, like peeling back layers, right? It's wild what you'll uncover. So yes, the perfectionism. I don't do that job anymore. Obviously, I decided to move past that position, but it did teach me that perfectionism is actually a detriment to us, because it prevents us from, well, lots of times we became in this perfectionism sort of mentality to protect ourselves, because perhaps we had to do things a certain way to please someone that maybe raised us, or maybe we were married to, or was our boss, or something like that. And so we adapted to that kind of situation. It was like a survival mode sort of way. But right now we're being asked to, just put time and effort into the things that we truly desire, and not wasting things on energy that really won't matter in the end. You might be just wanting to have a lot more focus right now. You did get the 8 of Wands, which is like fast communication. It's a Sagittarius, Mercury and Sagittarius placement. And what that says to me is that there's like swift action at this time. There's progress. You are moving quickly in one direction or the other. Just let's make sure that the direction that we are headed toward is where we want to be in the end, right? Let's try to sort of settle in and get our bearings, and then go in the direction where we're being led. That will be for our greatest good. All right. So how would we get there? We might want to ask for some help. Okay, if you live in a house full of people and you are doing all the work, got to stop that. Not only is that not fair to you, but that will make you build resentment for others, and they won't even understand why. And I get a lot of messages of people feeling like they should know to help me. They should just know. But people don't really know. They don't really think about that. They think about themselves, just like you think about yourself, probably a lot. And maybe you think about others too much. And maybe it's time for you to think about you. So how does that look? Maybe asking for some help, having other people do things and not insisting that they're done your way. And that's going to be really hard for a lot of people who struggle with perfectionism, because we think our way is the only way lots of times. So let's try to break free from that, okay? Because you want time to put into yourself. You want to have a good time, getting to know who you are, becoming as a person. You're doing all this work on yourself. You know, you're starting to see, oh, if I continue this way, I'm going to uncover why XYZ is happening for me. And you're starting to see patterns that you are repeating over and over. And you're thinking to yourself, how did I never see this? This eclipse is breaking things wide open for us. So again, don't be afraid. Just know this is a gentle nudge from spirit to kind of just sit with yourself a little bit and turn off your distractions and ask yourself what truth feels unsafe to admit at this time. And really just know that you are the light. You are the one that can make things so much better for yourself. And you can reflect that you are worthy of all of the beauty that is coming in for you. Before I end here, someone might be seeing the number 1010 quite a bit. You did get the angel number 1010, and that's about trusting the journey. It's about clarity, patience, momentum, insight, happiness, progress, self-discovery, unconditional love. So it's time to take those long held ideas and turn them into action. Soon you'll be connecting with the right people, and you will encounter favorable circumstances and access the necessary resources that you require for yourself. And as a result, you will experience joy and new opportunities, and you will trust the journey and have faith in the process. And that is so true. You've got the Wheel of Fortune here. So this is a cycle like anything else. We're closing up that 15-year cycle. And I don't know about you all, but I'm really glad to see that cycle end for me, because the person I was in 2011, I wish I could go back and hug her and tell her, girl, it's going to be okay, but it's going to be wild. And, but I know I needed to go through those things in order to grow into the person that I am now. So, you yourself, you are going to turn aside. You're going to leave this behind, whatever's been keeping you stuck, right? You know that this is what you need to do for yourself. So I wish you all the best, and I hope that you have just a wonderful day. Okay? We'll see you next time. Bye.